Yvette Herrell on the phone with us. It's 8:48. How are you doing, Yvette?
Hey, I'm great. How are you this morning?
Oh, I think we're going to be. Okay. Yeah, we were just talking about the Navajo Nation up there in Gallup, where the governor shut everything down. I had no idea you got people living without running water. That just breaks my heart.
Yeah, it's been like that for years, and it's a tragedy and something that should have been addressed years ago. But they are really hurting up there right now. So certainly we're praying for them and trying to keep an eye on what's going on up in that neck of the woods for sure.
So we had Claire on during the 7 o'clock hour. We wanted to have you on to talk about this latest article that came out in Associated Press and get your take on this whole thing. We talked to Claire, and she's saying that your text numbers, your personal text line is associated with the line that sent text messages to Roger Rael. And so we wanted to get your take on all this.
Yeah, I'm glad. I appreciate the opportunity. Yeah, that's the same Roger Rael that has absolutely done nothing but try to just destroy my character along with everybody else in the state party and other Republican candidates that are quite frankly trying to do good for the state of New Mexico. He's got case pending against him right now for assault. He's disparaged and attacked everybody I could think of. So not really a great reliable source there. But yeah, this story is absolutely crazy. And it's no coincidence that this story is coming out on the day that absentee early voting starts. I mean, this is just dirty politics at its worst, and the people of New Mexico do not have an appetite for this. We need to be talking about the hundreds of people that got laid off in the city of Artesia yesterday. We need to be talking about how we're going to protect our jobs here, reopen our economy safely, how we're going to protect our ag industry, our oil industry. People do not care about Claire Chase's personal life. I don't care about her personal life. And what people need to understand, this Jared Richardson, he doesn't even live in New Mexico. He's not even a voter in New Mexico. And he has been shopping this story for days, trying to get somebody to write a story. So there is absolutely zero coincidence that this is coming out now. We have a great campaign going. Yeah. We have more endorsements coming out. We have stayed lean and clean through this entire thing. And this is nothing but blatant lies set up to demean my character.
Now,
and it's been embarrassing.
Yeah, Yvette, in that article, he claims that you called him twice asking about, back in 2018, about your campaign then. And then...
No, I did call him once, and he called me. Yeah, I don't have anything to hide. I called him because a supporter of ours in the 2nd Congressional District asked me to call him. He had some questions about our 2018 race.
Right.
I absolutely called him. In fact, I called him on April 8th, I believe. He called me back the next day and said, you guys should stop saying all these things about Claire. I said, you show me where we're doing anything. There is nothing in print, nothing sent out, nothing at all coming from me or my campaign about that. And again, it's pretty sad when somebody who's supporting Claire Chase has to go and shop a story like this all over New Mexico to try to get it to drop on the day that early absentee ballot starts. I mean, this is just what this is dirty politics at its worst, and it plays right into the hands of the Democrats. So this is what the Democrats want to see.
So that newspaper article said that according to this guy Jordan, that you were spreading rumors about Chase's first husband, and supposedly she had an affair with someone else while he was in Afghanistan. Do you, in the article, you deny it? You said 100% false allegations.
Absolutely, I deny it. I absolutely deny that, Tom. You know me better than that, and the people of New Mexico know me better than that. Again, I have no interest in her personal life. I have no interest in worrying about what she did personally, just like I don't think she has an interest in my personal life. What we should be talking about are the issues that New Mexico is facing right now. And this turns into he said, she said. There's no credibility to it. Again, an absolute attack on my good character, on my name, and my integrity. And I will fight to the end for what I believe in, and that's my character and the integrity and how I represent this district. And it's no surprise that this story was shopped by this guy, this Jared Richardson, to several sources. They couldn't even get a story going because there's not a story. This is journalism at its worst. There's nothing to this, but it makes sense to them because here we are on the day of absentee ballots starting, and of course, why wouldn't you? I mean, when you're getting desperate and the polls say we're leading, the people know we've got great momentum. We've got the House Freedom Fund just dropped a lot of money into New Mexico because Jim Jordan and Mark Meadows and Andy Biggs and Debbie Lesko and Right Women, and Citizens United and Freedom Works, Susan B. Anthony, these people know my character. They believe in me. They know I'm the right person for this job. And this, again, that is something so ridiculous and so off base.
I have to ask, though, Yvette, how is your phone, your text messages, tied to this guy, Roger Herrell?
Roger Herrell. I have every single text message from Roger Herrell. He text, and I have turned every single one of the text messages over to the Journal so they could see them for themselves. He introduced himself to me by text in 2018. I'm Roger Herrell, blah, blah, blah. I support you. Throughout the last year and a half, he's texted me different things that I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. You can see by my text messages, it's like, okay, great. I don't have any relationship with this guy. I don't even know who this guy is. And he did send me a picture of a crazy meme that he made. And I said, wow, that's what I told him. Wow. And then he goes, I'm putting this out. I said, well, you should correct your spelling. I told him there's 2 misspelled words. That was the extent of that. I had nothing to do with it. I don't know what he did with it. I never had a conversation with him about that. And again, he has repeatedly attacked myself, Steve Pierce, Anissa Ford, Stephanie Lord, others on Facebook repeatedly. And this is just playing right into the hands of the Democrats. This is why the Republican Party looks weak, because we tend to fight with ourselves and throw each other under the bus instead of building each other up and putting what's important in the forefront, which is the people of New Mexico. People need a leader who's going to take the responsibility and the voices and the concerns to Washington. No one cares about these crazy attack stories. This is fake news. There's no truth to it, and it needs to be put to bed. And again, no coincidence that this kind of story would drop on the day that absentee voting starts. I am standing firm in who I am as a person, my character, as a candidate, as a Christian, and I believe I will do the right job for New Mexico. I don't have time for these childish games, and neither do the voters, because we have too much at stake right now in the state and the nation. At any point, did you say you need to put gold digger as the story says? I told him when he sent me that, and he has sent me other memes before, and in that one, I said, you have 2 misspelled words in there. And I pointed out he had 2 misspelled words. One was good, should have been gold. One was Claire's name. I didn't know what he was doing with it. I didn't care what he was doing with it. This is not the first thing that he's put out against other people. I followed him. I mean, there's some ugly stuff. You've seen him. I mean, Stephanie, and it was crazy. The guy became friends of mine. True story, became a friend of mine on Facebook. And then I saw some of the stuff. I'm like, get out of here. I mean, right. Stephanie is a sweet person. And he put out a meme about her being a transvestite. And I was like, what? Right. Well, I can go on Facebook and see the stuff he writes about me. So again, I'm not going to deny, did he send me a meme? Heck, he did. Yeah, I'm not going to hide that. I, in fact, turned that over to our guys so they could share it with the Journal. I have absolutely nothing to hide here. I, though, personally, and our campaign has never used any of that information. We know it doesn't matter. People don't care about that. That's crazy stuff, and that's the end of it. I'm not going to lie about, did he text me? Yes, he did. Has he texted me over the last year and a half? Yes, he has. Did I turn every single one of those texts over? I sure did, because I have nothing to hide. I am not going to try to hide behind anything. This is why this story is nuts. And again, when somebody who lives out of state can't vote here, has nothing to do with this race, they will take this person's word. It's a he said, she said, and all this is garbage, plays into the hands of the Democrats, and we need to be focused on what matters to New Mexico, not these crazy fake news stories that are nothing but character assassinations right here on the day early voting starts.
Yeah, and an updated story, Yvette. The article says that Mr. Gray, I believe the ex-husband of Claire Chase, says it never happened, And Claire says, I never did anything that the article claims. And so you are, and I told Claire the same thing. Both of you women are very good character of people. It just seems like this article is trying to muddy things up as to what's important. I even talked to Claire about it this morning. The fact is, you gotta be Sochi Torres. She's the enemy here.
Yeah, that's right. And that's why this is so disappointing, because this article was shopped around the state by a Claire supporter, somebody who goes on and says that he supports her. This guy, whether he meant to cause harm or not, all this does is play into the hands of the Democrats.
Yeah.
This is all this does. People do not have an appetite. No one cares about her personal life. No one cares about mine. They care about who's the leader, who has the experience, who can take our values to Washington, and who can fight for what we need in terms of better job opportunities, how we rebuild our economy in a safe way, how we protect our beef producers, how we protect our oil and gas. How does the state now, how do they redefine their budget because of the loss of revenue coming into the state coffers? Those are the things people care about. Right now, this is embarrassing and, quite frankly, just so childish and dumb, and no Republican voter cares about these kind of issues because they do not matter. This is not campaign material. This does not belong in anybody's campaign. Well, this, quite frankly, is a new low.
I have said the same thing from the beginning and been very vocal on the radio about, when Republicans kill Republicans, Democrats win. But, from day one, it has started about, well, she said this about, Claire said this about Trump and that about Trump and wasn't a supporter. And so, there have been multiple attacks from everywhere. And
yes. And I will tell you what, I have been in this game for a while, and I understand negative campaigning. I understand ads come out. I understand that. But I will not put out a negative piece from my campaign that is not absolutely verifiable. Those Facebook posts were her posts, not mine. You can see pictures of them. That was absolutely what she had to say about the president. To me, that's relevant because people need to understand, this is what's really going on. And I don't have a problem with what I put out because it's absolutely factual. Now, if I'd have made that up and guessed at it or said I thought she did or what have you, totally different story. Mm-hmm. But to come up with stuff that he said, she said, and even worse, letting somebody who's not even in our state, not even an eligible voter in our state, shop a story like this.
But I have to ask, why were you reaching out to him if he's not a voter?
Because he used to live in New Mexico, and he used to help General Salas when General Salas ran in 2018. And a supporter of mine who knows this, Jared, asked me if I would call him because he had some questions about the 2018 campaign.
Oh, okay.
And I complied. I did call him. I absolutely did. And so I'm not going to deny that. I absolutely called him, and then he called me back the next evening. But the point of it is it just kind of makes me smile to sit here and think someone's taking a screenshot of a phone call coming in. That's what I'm hearing. They have a screenshot of a phone call when I called him. Well, if you're not planning to use that against somebody, how many times, Tom, do you guys take a screenshot of a call coming into you?
Never.
Right. So unless there's going to be a sinister, ugly little use of that, what difference does it make? Why would you even have that? I believe in the intellect of the voters, and I believe they will see right through this craziness. And people know how important these races are, but this kind of distraction does nothing for the Republican Party, and quite frankly, does nothing good for the candidates. We need to focus on the issues that are important to New Mexico, and we've talked about them. Jobs. Think about it. Over 100 people got laid off in Artesia yesterday. And this is the best that we can come up with for a story out of one of the campaigns? Are you kidding me? This is what we've got newsworthy. This is the worst journalism ever. It's a he said, she said. And let me tell you, the AP is more than delighted to write hit pieces against candidates because exactly what you said. This kind of journalism plays into the hands of the Democrats and gives the Democrats the edge. And if we don't stand up and stop acting like this and start fighting for what is important to New Mexico, we are in trouble. And I'm not willing to give up this fight. I'm excited about the people that are standing with me, the people that have endorsed me, the people that are supporting me. And I am just sick that we see a new low in politics. And this is why people don't want to run for office. This exactly is why the wrong people get elected. Because people will listen to this sometimes and buy into it. And it's nothing but fake news. And he said, she said, and has nothing to do with what is happening right now today with people who have lost their jobs and people that are trying to figure out how we get our state back on track.
Yeah, but obviously,
do you think that people?
Go ahead. Obviously,
I think they do think that.
Go
ahead, Tom. Go ahead.
But obviously, whether it's your side or her side, one responding to the other about negative ad, do you think it has an effect on voters? And then when people see the story and when we play it on our station as part of our news, is that going to make a difference? Do you think? Because obviously these negative ads work in some ways or don't work, right?
I think, there's always an element of negative ads work. But in something like this, I think the voters of New Mexico are way smarter. I don't think they'll be blurred by this. It's not fact-based. I mean, I believe normal people that are just not inside a race, that are just watching this, are looking at this thing, this entire story, thinking, what in the world? This is crazy. It doesn't make sense. You're talking about 2 or 3 different accusations on the candidate that is clearly the front runner, on the candidate that has the momentum going into this last 28 days, on the candidate that has money coming in from the Freedom Fund, who has been endorsed by, 40 people. I mean, when, people are going to see right through that. I think voters know who the right choice is. They understand this is nothing but an assassination on my character. And I, again, stand by my character and what I believe in. And you've known me for years, and you've seen me in a number of races. And this kind of craziness, this level of new low has never happened before. And you know it, and I know it. So I believe voters are not going to buy into this because they don't care. They don't have time for this. And if this is the priority over somebody who wants to know how they're going to pay their bills next month or feed their kids next month or go to work next month or get their medical appointments taken care of next month, then shame on that campaign.
Well, let me ask you the last question. So are you accusing Chase's campaign of putting AP up to this ad? Or is AP putting out this ad?
I'm not accusing Claire's campaign of doing anything except let's put the pieces together. When a guy who's supporting Claire so heavily and is engaged with her is out shopping the story, did she have something to do with it or not? I have no idea. I'm not even going to try to guess on that. But I think it's pretty telling and pretty obvious to the voters when you have to see that, and I wanted to say this on the air so people would know, this isn't some big news story that the Albuquerque Journal just came up with or the AP just popped up with. The guy, Jared Richardson's the one who's been shopping this story to multiple sources. And we were tipped off yesterday that this story was going to come out. And it's just, it doesn't make sense. So when you have supporters of Claire out there pushing stories like this and shopping journalists, that should tell the story to the voter. This doesn't make sense. This isn't like some big news story that the Albuquerque Journal or the AP or whoever just picked up and went to each campaign to get, a quote from. This is actually a story that was prefabricated. Obviously, with the screenshots of phone calls coming into to his phone a month ago, were clearly going to be used for something. And don't you find the timing of this coming out the day absentee voting starts and this story just comes out all of a sudden, this is so newsworthy? It's not newsworthy.
Yeah.
What's newsworthy is how we put New Mexico back together again. And how we turn it red, and how we keep the Senate, how we take the House, how we keep Trump elected, and how we help the House and Senate in New Mexico take majorities here. That's what's important. And that's why I think these voters and these people listening are not going to buy into this. They're sick of it. Yeah. And I am too. I learned more about myself through this campaign than I've ever seen in my life.
Exactly. Yvette Herrell, I'm responding to the article this morning. Hey, we look forward to having you here in the studio May 15th when we have all three of you live to talk about the issues.
That'll be great. I appreciate this opportunity, Tom, and I'm I'm thankful to have the opportunity to let people know that this is, again, another new low, and it plays into the hands of the Democrats. There's no truth to this. It's a character assassination, and the timing, and people will recognize that, is ridiculously coincidental on the day absentee voting starts.
Thank you, Yvette.
Thank you, Yvette. We'll look forward to seeing you on the 15th.